In recent times, the trend of doing biopics is nothing that we aren't used to. In fact, it's been incredibly oversaturated if you think about the last 10 years and how many have come out. So again, upon finding out that there was going to be a Bruce Springsteen biopic, I was curious, would it follow the same trend? Well, I'm pleased to say it didn't. So let's get into my thoughts as to why I believe that. Okay, so I wanted to start here. Now indulge me for a minute. If you know this is about the boss, Bruce Springsteen, you're obviously going to watch it and it works because you're curious and you want to know about his life. However, I think the strength of this film is that if you took away the fact that it was Bruce Springsteen and that it was just a normal entertainer, this still works and it's still a really great character study. And I had similar thoughts about A Complete Unknown, but what a friend pointed out to me that I definitely agree with is that felt like a watered down Inside Llewyn Davis. Whereas I think that this film has its own complete unique identity. So again, as I mentioned, regardless of whether it's about the boss or not, it's something that you can watch and that can resonate and cut deep. And speaking on where it cuts deep, to anyone that's experienced childhood trauma, there is a true real reflection of how it affects you later in life and how some of the actions that are taken early on can have this larger inverse effect on the person that you become. And now I'm not saying that you need to have experienced any of those things to connect with this film on a deep level, because again, what I think it does well is it actually portrays it in a really digestible way that if you haven't gone through any of those things, you can still clearly see it and understand it on screen, and you can still empathize with the characters and what they're going through. And so in short, whilst I feel that this film is copping a lot of heat because people wanted more of Bruce Springsteen's life, I actually think that this is why it makes it a great film, is because it has so many layers to it, despite only being over a short period of time. And beyond the messaging of the film, I still think there's a lot of other things technically to love about it. I mean, this film and the way it's set with its design and aesthetic, it's just so pleasing. And of course the music. I mean, I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, but just in general, the songs and that era, it always resonates and sticks with me. I also think that Jeremy Strong is in a really great position to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He was absolutely fantastic in this film. And to be honest, across the film, most of the acting is pretty good. However, one of the drawbacks, and look, there's really only a few for me, lie within Jeremy Allen White's performance as the boss. Now, as much as I love Jeremy Allen White, and I think that he's a phenomenal actor and having a great career, in this film specifically, it felt like he had this habit of falling back into his character from The Bear, Call Me Berizzato. You know, it was only a handful of times and you could mainly feel it in confrontational scenes where I think just through default, when he's in those moments, and he's been on The Bear for a long time, it kind of does make sense. But at the same time, holding him to that higher standard, when I think about someone like Joaquin Phoenix, for example, I never feel like I see him as the same character in two different films. And I was really hoping to see Jeremy Allen White fully just immerse himself as Bruce for the whole film. So whilst a minor drawback, it was definitely there and is noticeable. But despite that, to me, which does feel like a minor discrepancy, overall I did really love this film. The pacing of it, and the shortness of the story. I feel like it doesn't overstay its time and it actually delivers. I mean, exploring the difficulty of facing up to his anxieties and the reality of accepting how that actually affects and hurts his life in totality is very relatable. And I think it's portrayed in such an authentic way that you can have self-reflection yourself as you're watching this film, and you can apply it to potentially situations outside of the film in your real life. And lastly, in particular, I just enjoyed the complexity of Bruce and his father's relationship. It's one of those things that is so messy and it's really hard to understand, but it was a really real situation that was happening to a lot of families back in that day. And I think that it poses the question on screen in a really great way to say, this is someone that's clearly hurt and affected his life. However, he still loves him. And I think that both can coexist, and I think that it's put in a really clever way because it's true. And so with that being said, here are my scores on screen now. As you can see, I'm giving this film an 80 out of 100. So yes, look, it's only a small snippet into the boss's life, and if that's what you're expecting, I would encourage you to temper your expectations. But I truly believe this: if you go in with an open mind, willing to see a character study, willing to just see a film, well then I think that you'll really enjoy this film. Okay, until next time, crew. Peace.